So where I'm going to bring you in is within our demo Shopify instance. I want to show off how we're helping e-commerce customers accurately rate and curate kind of an ideal customer experience within the cart. Again, you'll see it in Shopify. To call out, though, we do have many cart integrations today. Shopify, Magento, SweetCommerce Advanced. And then, of course, we also have an open REST API. So really any cart would be in play. And if it is a BigCommerce, that one's in play as well. So let's get into it here. And actually, I'm going to bring you to this experience here. So you can see that you're here in ShipHawk, right? We're obviously a very creative group here. This is just ShipHawk in Swedish, so we're IKEA. So welcome to our store here for Verifying Goods. What I want to run you through is basically that customer experience and how we're affecting it. So you can see already within the cart, I already have my tailgate that I've been seeking forever within the cart. I also then, at this point, have my information. And it's at this point with ShipHawk is that we're going to be able to experience this rating functionality. And so what's going to happen here is as soon as I click on to continue to shipping, is that our Shopify app here in this case is going to compile a request of all the information here from the form. So origin, destination, multi-origins in play here with a lot of our carts as well. And it's also going to take all of your items that are within the cart as well. And it's going to send an API request to ShipHawk's rating API endpoint. And when ShipHawk receives that request, its first job is actually to run a feature which we call smart packing, right? You can also call it cartonization. That algorithm exists to create a packing configuration which is the most efficient. So minimizing void space, minimizing materials used, and minimizing the number of shipments here, because that is going to get you the best rate. And in this case. And so from there, once we figured out what that is, and that we're going to send the request out to all of your connected carriers. At the end of the day, ShipHawk is not a freight broker, right? What our role here, especially in the rating piece, is to help you leverage your existing relationships in the best ways possible. So from there, we'll send the request to your connected carriers. They'll, of course, say, we'll take it for this amount. They'll bring it back to ShipHawk, and they'll bring it back to the cart. And it's all going to happen within a couple seconds, right? And within this cart, it will be able to rate both parcel and LTL in the same rate request. We'll see in this case, it's just going to be a parcel order just to simplify it for this demo experience here, especially for an introductory one. So we're going to see as soon as I click on that, what's going to happen is that it's going to come back. And as if you work with Shopify before, you know, it's really good at caching, right? So an instantaneous response. And I do this and I show you this, and I want to show you the native behavior of ShipHawk. And what it does is that it will return all of your negotiated rates back to cart. So that's real-time rating here within the cart. And it proves it does something, right? Which is pretty neat. However, I think for from a customer experience standpoint, this might be ideal, or it might be a little overwhelming, especially with parcel, right? Because I see I have like 30 different rates here. Myself, maybe I have zero idea what the difference between any of this is, and I get a little overwhelmed. I abandon the cart. Nobody's happy. So this is where another concept of ShipHawk comes in, which is rules, one of those 4 key workflows with rules. Rules exist to complement or further augment what ShipHawk's automation is already doing, right? We already know it's providing those real-time accurate rates. How could we make that better? So in this case, we're going to have a couple rules in play here. We'll take a deeper dive into the rules engine a little bit later, but one of my flavors of rules are called rating rules, and rating rules affect that experience within the cart. And we can discriminately deploy those rules. Say maybe I have multiple Shopify storefronts. I want to act a little bit different in each one. Also, I might have a B2B arm of my business, and within perhaps NetSuite, I am quoting for orders in there, and I need to act a little bit differently. Rules will help me achieve that, right? So 3 rules we commonly see are: number 1, masking the carrier service. So because we do that because for 2 reasons. One, as a customer, really all I care about is when's it going to get to me, how much does it cost? And second, if I promise a specific carrier service, no longer can I optimize. I am committed to having to use that carrier service. And as silly as that is, if I tell somebody it's coming via UPS and FedEx shows up, now I have a problem, right? So we'd obviously love to circumvent that potential issue. So we're going to mask the carrier service. We're also going to use a rule that basically for markups, right? So maybe a modest markup of 10%, because we can see, yes, this is your true negotiated rate. And if you're doing so well that you can pass on just your straight rate back, that's amazing. However, most of our customers would mark up just a little bit. So shipping is never a loss. It's typically a net neutral, or it could be a profit center. We see markups anywhere between like 10, 100%, depending on the vertical. So you control your destiny as far as that goes. And then also free shipping rules here, free shipping of the cheapest rate, perhaps promotional, perhaps over a certain spend. So we'll see these 3 rules. And let's say that I've just turned those on in real time. You'll see later the ShipHawk's rules engine is freely available for you to administrate at any time, and it's super intuitive for you to control the experience here. So all those turned on, it could look like this. All right, so we see a much cleaner experience within the cart that provides a best experience for the customer here, and also protects me as far as capturing the right cost in here, and also with smart packing that is integrated with the rating piece, and also within the packing and shipping solution, so you have a consistent experience all the way across the board, so that you're always so your shipping costs are predictable and reliable. So that's rating within the e-commerce platform. Again, many different carts. If we don't have a pre-built integration for you, we also have the Open REST API, which you can work with us to build that out. Pretty straightforward. If you want to take a look at that, our Open API docs are at docs.shiphawk.com. So if you want to peruse those while or after the call, feel free to do that. The other place I do want to take you here is I talked about rating within e-commerce, right? But that's not applicable to everybody. In that case, especially if you're more a B2B operation, this might be not in play at all. The other place I can take you here is within NetSuite, right? As far as ERP integrations, we're primarily in NetSuite today. We also have many customers within the Acumatica space. But again, because we have that open API, we are able to integrate with many different ERPs. We've integrated with Odoo before, Dynamics. We've done it with SAP B1. So really, you're not limited just because you don't have NetSuite. Acumatica can definitely still work with you. So for this example here, we're going to look at this from basically, it's just an ERP, right? So what I look at here is that if I am in a situation where I'm taking an order and I need to get a quote for shipping now, the typical experience that we see is that if I'm a salesperson, I'm going to go out to many different websites to get quotes from. It takes a long time and ultimately kind of a frustrating piece. Or perhaps even worse is that you got to call down to the warehouse and say, what's it going to cost me to ship this? And then turnaround time could be, could be 5 minutes, could be 2 days. Who knows? And we really want to create an experience which is like, hey, can I get a quote right here on the sales order form? The answer is absolutely you can. And it's going to be very similar to what you saw within Shopify. So in this example, I already have a sales order, got a customer, I've got a few line items. All I have to do is click on a button that says Get ShipHawk Rates. And this is widely available today, both within NetSuite and Acumatica, and it's the same job. It's going to compile all the information here from your sales order form. It's then going to smart pack that. It's then going to reach out to your connected carriers. They're going to return those rates, and that comes back here to NetSuite. And you'll see actually in this case, I'm showing off how ShipHawk is able to easily and elegantly shop multimodal here. When ShipHawk creates those packing configurations, it creates both a parcel and an LTL packing configuration, and that will get returned to an external system here in this case. So here, you'll see basically the full response coming back here. I also have rules here in play to just return the 5 cheapest rates. Here, I could return 40 of them if they felt that was a good experience for that sales individual. Or you can say, hey, you know what, let's give you just 5, because if you get like 40, maybe you don't make a great decision. So that's also rules in play. There's also a 15% markup applying here. So the biggest takeaway is that on the sales order form, I can click a button and get rates easily. I don't have to go anywhere else. I'm not taken to any other solution. It's all happening right here. Further, since we're thinking about LTL, you'll see that with our suite app, there's going to be these buttons for rating and validating addresses, also inclusion of accessorials, which are important because you want to get that right to avoid those back charges, so you can predictably capture those shipping costs up front as well and pass that to consumers instead of yourselves, obviously. So a lot of pieces, and also with the rules engine, you don't have to rely on those checkboxes. We can just say if the customer is X or is this type of customer, whatever, include a lift gate. You got to have signature required. A lot of different things here, but again, the biggest takeaway is that you click a button, you get rates, and I think that's the ideal experience for rating as far as that goes. And again, I talked about smart packing along the way. I don't want to make that seem like a barrier to entry, right? Especially, because smart packing today is going to rely upon your dimensions of your items, and getting those can be easier for some, more difficult for others. ShipHawk is still able to provide those real-time accurate rates back to your cart with just weights only. And then typically in those cases, if you're doing that, we want to perhaps apply a more generous markup just to make sure that you're not losing on shipping, perhaps making it a little bit as well.